50 just leaked some shocking new video showing how scared and shaken Diddy looks in prison, and it's blowing up all over the internet right now. We kept hearing stories about how Diddy was living easy in there, drinking wine and teaching business classes to other inmates. But now it looks like some people are really after him, and the reasons are ones a lot of folks didn't expect. Reports are saying Diddy might be in real danger from Tupac's people. This guy's life could be at risk here because people believe he had something to do with Pac. People think he had something to do with Biggie too, and they're right here in Brooklyn. You get me? It's right here in Brooklyn. And some folks are still mad that he made making the band walk all the way to Brooklyn just to get cheesecake from Junior's, which is right around the corner from the Cheesecake Factory. So it might be some silly stuff. You'll need to get him out of here and send him to Jersey because somebody might kill him over here. Those are the arguments people are making, but it's crazy. He's gonna get the same treatment no matter how much money he's got for years. The deaths of Tupac Shakur and Christopher the Notorious B.I.G. Wallace have hung over hip-hop like an open wound. And for just as long, Diddy has strongly denied having anything to do with either killing. Now, there was this documentary that claimed stuff we know wasn't true. Yeah. Check this out. We don't talk about nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even gonna go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you. 'Cause listen, 7 years ago I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody? But no, you did it like a journalist. Yeah. No, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense. Which we never believed, by the way. Thank you. Tupac was shot in a drive-by in Las Vegas on September 7, 1996. He fought for 6 days before dying at just 25 years old. Only 6 months later, Biggie was killed the same way in Los Angeles on March 9, 1997. Two huge rap stars were gone back-to-back during a time when the music world was split right down the middle. That split was the famous East Coast-West Coast feud. It wasn't just about music, it was pride, loyalty, and old tension. Diddy, as Biggie's close friend, producer, and the boss of Bad Boy Records, stood strong on the East Coast side. Over time, Diddy's name kept popping up whenever people talked about both deaths. The Netflix docuseries Sean Combs, The Reckoning, which came out on December 2nd, brought those old talks right back into the spotlight. Several people in the series said Diddy may have played a part. I think that Sean had a lot to do with the death of Tupac, and he ushered Biggie to his death. Bad Boy co-founder Kirk Burrows said in the documentary, the tension between Diddy and Tupac didn't come out of nowhere. Early on, they moved in the same music circles. That changed on November 30, 1994. That night, Tupac was at Quad Studios in New York City to record a guest verse for Diddy's artist, Little Sean. Instead, Tupac was robbed and shot 5 times in the lobby. He survived, but the damage was done. From that moment on, his trust in both Diddy and Biggie was broken. In a 1996 interview with Vibe magazine, Tupac was asked straight up if he thought Diddy was involved. You think Puffy was involved in the shooting? Only they could answer that question. I had my own opinion, but I wouldn't slander their name like they did mine. I wouldn't say things that I knew. You know what I mean? I believe so. I do believe so. I have proof, things that I can say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows. So every time he says it didn't happen, that's the only thing that makes this become an issue to everybody, because you seen what I said in the Vibe article. I basically vowed out and was gonna go ahead about my life. The next issue, no, it wasn't even the next issue, cause them cowards waited about for issues before they got their story together. For issues later, half of New Yorkers commenting on me getting shot, and before they was all like, we didn't see nothing in the first issue. We didn't. Vibe viewers. Nobody seen. The 4th issue, when they came back with a reply, everybody knew what I did. They knew what I said. I was acting. Who gets shot 5 times and acts? Oh, I didn't get shot 5 times in their vision. I only got shot once 'cause they found a bullet. The police found a, now they the cops. Now they doing detective work. They found a bullet. Oh, you found a bullet, huh? So what is this other in me then? What was the doctors talking about? What? Can you explain these other holes in me? How'd I get gunpowder all over me? That's what insulted my intelligence. So yes, I did say Third Life was dead. Yes, I bowed out all of that. But when they said that, they breathed new life in me. The quad studio shooting was never solved, but Gene Deal claims Diddy already knew Tupac was gonna get shot and let it happen. He says the 50 Cent documentary talked about the incident but left out a big detail. According to Gene, on that very day, Diddy, Andre Harrell, and Jimmy Henchman were all together in Jimmy's office. Biggie and Suge Knight, Gene says, didn't know that. Gene claims Diddy wasn't there by accident. He says Diddy was keeping an eye on Biggie because Diddy controlled Biggie's publishing at the time. Biggie was writing new material, and Diddy wanted to know exactly what was going on. That's why Gene says Diddy was in the building to watch Biggie, not to work with him. While they were there, Gene claims Jimmy Henchman told Diddy that Tupac was gonna be taught a lesson over money Tupac allegedly owed. In an inch of him being there to spy on Big, Jimmy Henchman told him that they to show Pac teach Pac a lesson 'cause Pac had owed him some money. So that's why he was up in the studio and was coming to the studio. Pac owed him some money. He was gonna work it off and get some money from doing a song with Lil Sean, and that's what that was about. But Pac was talking greasy to Jimmy Henchman, and Jimmy Henchman wasn't the type of dude that you talk greasy to allegedly unless she 50 Cent. So Diddy knew what was going to happen to Pac. He knew Pac was about to get dealt with. Yeah, he was there to see it. He was there to see it. He wasn't only there to see Big them when Jimmy Henchman told him that. He was there to see what's gonna happen to Pac. He was there for that because had he not been there for that, he would have went up there in the office. He would have went to the studio session with Big Num. He knew what room Big Num was in. He didn't do that. He was there to see what was gonna happen to Pac after Jimmy told him. And that's factual. Gene says this lines up with what Kirk Burrow has also claimed, that Diddy played a role behind the scenes. And if money was involved, Gene believes Kirk would know where it came from. Yeah. Kirk Burrow, he also said that, he feels like, Diddy was behind Pac's murder. Yeah. If Diddy played a part in that stuff like he said, Kirk know where the money came from. I must say this. They tried to, if you talk about the Vegas trip and the whole 9 yards, Kirk said that he paid for people to drive out to Vegas. You know what I'm saying? He said he paid for people to drive out to Vegas. I was heavily with Bad Boy at that time. I don't remember that part of it. You understand? I don't remember that part of it. But if Kirk knew and he was paying for people to drive out to Vegas in the whole 9 yards, it's hard to hide $1 million, brother. You ain't gonna cash that in the check cashing place. You signing that over to somebody. I said 1,000 times and I'll say it 1,000 times again. Eric Von Zip showed me and my man Boom Dang aka my man Slick a check for $1 million. We don't know. And everybody trying to say lying talking about half of it got paid $500. I don't know. I know when I asked him about, we asked him do we ask, no, we didn't ask him. I know when he showed us a check and he walked away after he showed us the check for the $1 million. You understand, the people involved are gone now, but the money isn't. Paper trails don't die. If the truth is ever gonna come out, Gene believes it's sitting right there in records, checks, and transactions that can still be followed on. Nearly 2 years later came the Las Vegas shooting that ended Tupac's life. For decades, that case also went unsolved, feeding rumors and theories all through hip-hop. Then in September 2023, everything changed. Dwayne Keith Kef D. Davis was arrested and charged with murder. Prosecutors said he played a key role in the killing. In July 2024, a court filing revealed something even bigger. A previously undisclosed 2009 police interview. In it, Davis allegedly described his role in Tupac's murder and kept bringing up Diddy, claiming Diddy was the one who ordered the shooting. According to Davis, Diddy was furious over Tupac's constant insults. A DEA and U.S. Department of Justice report also mentioned a 2008 interview where Davis claimed Diddy said he needed to get rid of Marion Suge Knight and Shakur and offered him $1 million to handle the problem. Kef D's claim was an informant in 1997 who told investigators that Puffy had hired the Southside Crips to kill both Suge and Tupac, and that the __, who was jumped at the MGM, was in the group that had done the hit, and that they originally were gonna do it at Suge Vegas nightclub but then decided to do it right away instead of waiting. This was exactly the same story that Kef D told us a decade later. Very few people know that immediately after Tupac is shot and that white Cadillac is fleeing, one of the death row entourage, a guy named Alton McDonald known as Bun Tri, chases after the Cadillac and a second shooting takes place between the two vehicles. Alton McDonald's car is struck. In fact, within the Las Vegas files, there's a document that indicates that Alton McDonald's car had been struck by a bullet that night. Yeah. And he even said that, like, in retrospect, that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Puffy by Zip stealing the money. Now Puffy isn't connected to that, or else it would have been like a hire or something. You know what I'm saying? The FBI said Zip. So the FBI told the dirty mother. So the FBI told you that Zip kept that money as well. He said Zip's a dirty mother. Everybody cross you. You the last one to know everything, even lawyers, your friends, everybody can cross you. Diddy has denied all of it. In July 2024, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department said Sean Combs has never been considered a suspect in the Tupac Shakur homicide investigation. Diddy has never been charged. Davis has pleaded not guilty and remains in custody with his trial delayed. After Tupac's death, the danger didn't go away. According to people close to the situation, Diddy and his East Coast team were warned not to go to the West Coast. Still, Diddy pushed forward to promote Biggie's upcoming album. Biggie didn't want to go, but Sean talked him into doing all those things. Barrow claimed in Sean Combs' The Reckoning, "I seen an interview that Puffy did with Fat Joe where he was talking about Biggie in his last moments in LA, and he told Fat Joe that he didn't want to go to LA. He actually wanted to go to London. But Biggie, he was the one that wanted to go to LA, and he was the one that was pushing to go to LA. That's not true. My name is Kirk Barrow. I ran Bad Boy Entertainment. I helped co-found it. I created the company with him. I raised from general manager to president. And at that time, I put all of those business plans together. And Biggie didn't want to go to LA, it ended up going. What got him out there was a week ahead of time to ease him into the whole award show. He may not have wanted to go to London, but was talked into it. First time ever, a rapper of your stature getting this treatment. That would be something he would be interested in doing, but he was easily talked out of it by Sean so that they can make an appearance at an event in LA that Saturday night. A part of the posturing of not only did we come to the award show, not only am I recording my album out here, and Big is going to help me with some of the writing and maybe do something out here where me and him did this song in LA. I'm out on the town and it was just too much. This is something that Gene Deal has also backed up." He revealed that Clark Kent, who was close to Biggie and worked in the industry, admitted he questioned why Biggie was even going out that night. Biggie was supposed to be traveling, not partying. When Clark asked why they were going to the Peterson Museum, Biggie told him it was set up by Puffy and someone else. Gene says he didn't even know this until Clark said it publicly years later. They wasn't going out to no parties, no clubs, and no hip-hop scene. They wasn't doing none of that, brother. But that one particular night they go out, and it was because of Puff and them. See? Clark Kent said that, himself. I've been saying it for years, but everybody was saying I'm capping. No. What do you call Clark Kent? Is he capping? He's a vice president of a record company. You understand what I'm saying? He was DJing for Big. Is he capping? All these people should smack the brother. 'Cause what happened is when people hear the truth, they can't believe it. Why? They can't understand it. But it happened. We couldn't have done nothing because it was no we. It was no we out there. Big had a security. Paul offered Reggie Bullock. Puff had me and Kenny. We was down 6 to 8 other men. And it's 23 people in the entourage and none of them got no guns. You don't go Cali empty-handed. We couldn't have done nothing, man. What still hurts Gene the most is that he asked for more security before they went out. He says he pushed the issue and was told no. Puffy said there wasn't enough money. Still people still want to know, __ about him. They should have had better security. I asked them before we going to go out. Let's hire some more security. They refused to hire more security. They refused to hire more security. Kirk Burrow said the same thing. They have it in the budget. Not without Big. They don't have no budget. How about that? Later in the docuseries, former lap detective Greg Kading said he believed Diddy made the investigation harder, not easier. My perceptions have changed slightly gradually over time. Today I look at Diddy through a different lens than I might have 10, 15 years ago. There were obviously some early red flags, but it's a complicated thing because, we have to be very careful about falsely accusing people or even, making accusations based on nothing more than speculation and we just haven't seen all the evidence. So I prefer to kind of withhold judgment on some things. I can tell you regarding Diddy back when Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls were murdered, he wasn't exactly cooperative. He didn't do what you would assume a friend or, a manager so to speak would do. So from a law enforcement perspective, he was very unhelpful in an area where he ought to have been contributing towards getting some type of justice in those 2 murder cases. But as we found out in time, he was complicit in one of them. And which would make sense why maybe he didn't cooperate in the other because the 2 were they were just we always understood that they were somehow interconnected. And so if you're gonna cooperate or provide information on one and you're culpable in the other, one thing could lead back to the next. And that's where I think he understood his own vulnerability. Witnesses said Biggie's shooter was a black man wearing a blue tuxedo with a bow tie. No one has ever been arrested or charged in the case. Decades later, both murders remain officially unsolved and Diddy remains free of charges. That may change soon though, particularly because more and more connections are now coming up when it comes to Diddy's alleged involvement in Pac's murder. According to Kirk Burrow, the tension was already there before Tupac ever walked into Quad Studios. Trust was thin, egos were high, and the industry was full of quiet rivalries. When Tupac was robbed and shot inside the building, Burrow says the fallout hit fast and hard. From that point on, nothing between the camps was the same. Coming in, he was friendly with Big. He saw Little Sean, people like that. They wanted him to come and do a record. That was what was set up at Quad. Biggie knowing Little Sean. They were all there. Sees all of them. It was just going to be a fun night at the studio. A Pac showed up. He saw them looking down from the window. His new friends were there. An incident happened in the elevator. It might have been a scary thing like this to send a message. Tupac standing his own ground just didn't leave it at that. He ended up getting hit, getting shot. The elevator went up. Our people were shocked to see him in that state. He was shocked to see our people looking at him shocked. He thought that they knew something about it. He thought if he was in New York and he was with all the rappers from the East, they must have known what was going to happen. It had to be in the wind and situations aren't laid out like that. And it was the furthest thing from the truth. But he held that to his heart and then he went away. A few other things happened, got better, got repaired, went away, went to jail on the rape charge. Once that came down on him, it looked as if the East Coast must have been the worst thing and the worst place for him to have come to. And it looks as if the friends that he had just turned their backs on him. Suge stepped in. Suge stepped in. And when Suge stepped in, he signed him. He signed him to a napkin at Clinton. And that letter that he sent through Wendy Day, she was definitely a person that was connected and a mediator between most everyone in the hip-hop game and had been for a minute. Legendary person. She delivered the letter to my office. It started with West Side Up. So, it gave an indication the rumblings that we heard in the street with him being signed by Suge was definitely true. He's going to go west when he come back and he has an issue with us. Burrow says Tupac warned him that things were no longer just about music. The letter carried a cold message. Tupac believed it was now war with Puffy and Biggie. There was no confusion in his words, no room for misunderstanding. In Tupac's mind, what happened? Ed at Quad Studios changed everything. A woman by the name of Wendy Day, very important woman in the hip-hop world. I think she helped her baby and those guys with Cash Money label setting that up. She's very influential and instrumental in a lot of success. When I started in the music business, I reached out to her. She had a company called Rap Coalition. She went back and helped rappers from a previous generation get their money straight, their royalties. With that being said, I was like, she's someone I want to know. In knowing her, I had the good fortune of when she was dealing with Tupac during his crisis on the East Coast. She went to visit him at Clinton. He wrote a letter, drafted it so that she can bring it to me at the office so that I could know and be able to relate to Sean where we were with him. And the letter, if I remember, it said a West Side Up. And what we had heard was rumblings that Suge came and signed him on a napkin to a contract and he was going to go west. And all the stuff that happened to him on the East and made it look like people on the East, King or the biggest rappers on the East or people that he knew should have warned him or protected him against what had happened. And it just is not geographically laid out like that. And a lot of people caught some blame for things that they had nothing to do with. And he took offense, went west, and that started him as a mouthpiece against the East. All right. Going at Biggie. And I think of it's more than that's one level of the beef. Then I think there's another level of things that were going on in the streets where things happened in the dividing line between East and West that caused a big rift that led to mouthpieces going at each other. From Burrow's perspective, that moment marked the true beginning of the feud spiraling out of control long before the violence that would later shock the world. On the other hand, Joe Pieper believes Diddy was almost certainly behind Tupac's death, especially considering how much he hated the man. I heard a comment you made about how when you'll bring up Pac name around Diddy, he'll get mad. Yes. Yes. He hated every bit of it. I remember one time, he was like, who did you grow up listening to? I'm like, Tup. I ain't mentioned Biggie. That, even talked to me for days after that. Everything with Pac, like you couldn't say Pac was anything better than Biggie. You can't put them in the same realm or nothing. It was all about Biggie. I ain't know nothing it was all a dream whole song. I knew a couple words, a couple verses, the first verse maybe, but he made us recite the whole thing. I guess I don't know. He made us recite that whole thing. And I don't think that Biggie would have would have cared about reciting this whole __, you dig? Like of course I grew up listening to Biggie, too, And I just felt different. That's why Chopper says Diddy's hatred for Tupac felt so intense. Not competitive, not petty, personal. He says Diddy hated Tupac no matter how that sound. And only later did he realize how deep that hate really was. Ke situation. I think the real reason why they ain't gonna let Puffy out is because they trying to connect that Kef D situation with Puffy. That's what I really think it is. Because if it came down to some foolishness and all that chumped up charges they couldn't prove, I don't think they got no evidence. I think they trying to keep him in there to lock in that coup, you hear me? That coup situation with Puff. I think that's the only reason why he's still in jail right now. They know Puff is not a dangerous person on the outside. They know if they let him out right now, he going to be on house arrest. He going to be a good boy. He around and do all church little videos. And whatever. They know that already. That's not what they aiming for. They don't care about none of that. What they care about is they trying to connect coup with Tupac and Diddy. I'm telling you, that's what I feel. And I never thought I would have said that, but I'm an intelligent man, bro. And ain't no other way. They gonna keep you in there off. Oh yeah. Oh, did he do this to me? Oh, did he do that to me? I'm suing him. I'm suing him. I'm suing him. Oh, we got enough evidence to. No, you don't. That's accusations. That's not factual. Actual factual, brother. You dig? So, I feel like the actual factual thing that they really trying to aim for is the KFD. That's the only thing that they can really lock him in with. All the rest of that, gonna get trumped down when it come down to it. They gonna plea and that's be over with. What they going that rabbit in the hole is gonna be that coup situation. I'm telling mark my words. Watch. That's why they ain't going to let him out. They would have let KFD out on that bail. Vegas got a little thing. They'll let you out on bail, but they got little restrictions of how you can get out. You dig? So they going to make sure your ass can't get out of jail. Trust me. So that's the only way I see that to cause the feds play a different game. Now the thing is 50 is allegedly leaking all this footage to the likes of TMZ and other news aggregators. And if Gene Deal is to be believed, Diddy is definitely going to retaliate. We need people to put people out here that's doing, like this, that's taking from people families, that's beating women, that's drugging women. I ain't got a problem with it. Let's go to war, bro. First of all, they're going to try to get his baby mama stories. You know, they're going to try to get 50 baby mama stories. They're going to try to get girls that he probably dated that he had problems and issues with and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They're going to try to do the same thing they probably did to R. Kelly or Puff or whatever like that. And people tell their stories. You understand? But, you know, they trying to retaliate on what he did. Let him go ahead, bro, 'cause I think he ready for it. You don't do this and you don't do the stuff that he did or sign on to the stuff that he did with Puff unless you got your in order. Don't throw no stone if you live in a glass house. Don't throw no stone if you live in a glass house. I believe 50 ready for it if they come at him any kind of way. I heard that Diddy is trying to sue Netflix for $1 billion. Ain't nothing came up in court. That's just talk, bro. No paperwork has been put in and signed into that. They going to have a reason. If they were suing him and he had enough reason, why they didn't cease and desist the thing? Who? If he had a leg to stand on, why they didn't cease and desist the documentary? That's just people talking. Headline news. 'Cause had it been filed in court and they had a leg to stand on, they'd have been bringing that stuff down. Oh, we can't show it no more. Do you think we'll ever see Diddy convicted for Pac's murder? Let us know in the comments.